أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا وما منع الناس أن يؤمنوا إذ جاءهم الهدى ويستغفروا ربهم إلا أن تأتيهم سنة الأولين أو يأتيهم العذاب قبولا وما نرسل المرسلين إلا مبشرين ومنذرين ويجادل الذين كفروا بالباطل ليدحضوا به الحق واتخذوا آياتي وما أنذروا هزوا ومن أظلم ممن ذكر بآيات ربه فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه إنا جعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا وإن تدعهم إلى الهدى فلن يهتدوا إذا أبدا وربك الغفور ذو الرحمة لو يؤاخذهم بما كسبوا لعجل لهم العذاب بل لهم موعد لن يجدوا من دونه موئلا وتلك القرى أهلكناهم لما ظلموا وجعلنا لمهلكهم موعدا.
In this Quran, we have presented every kind of illustration for people, but man is more contentious than any other creature. Now that guidance has come to them, what stops these people believing and asking forgiveness from their Lord before the fate of earlier peoples annihilates them or their torment confronts them? We only send messengers to bring good news and to deliver warning. Yet the disbelievers seek to refute the truth with false arguments and make fun of my messages and warnings. Who could be more wrong than the person who is reminded of his Lord's messages and turns his back on them, ignoring what his hands are storing up for him in the hereafter? We have put covers over their hearts so they cannot understand the Quran, and we put heaviness in their ears. Although you call them to guidance, they will never accept it. Your Lord is the most forgiving and full of mercy. If He took them to task for the wrongs they have done, He would hasten their punishment on. They have an appointed time from which they will have no escape. Just like the former communities we destroyed for doing wrong, we set an appointed time for their destruction.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu ba'd. 2 weeks ago, our last class, because last week I wasn't in the country. Actually, I just landed about a couple of hours ago today, coming from Japan, which is very interesting country and interesting culture. I tell you one thing before we start our class, I noticed in Japan, which is something was very interesting. I noticed that they don't rely on computers. Like, you would assume Japanese, everything there is digital, that's right? It's interesting that I noticed that they don't rely on digital information. Everything is manual written. So, for example, I go to, I need to ride the train. So, if I ask about the schedule or any question, he will go and he will open a notebook and he will look at printout. He will not, for example, go to the computer. I will look at what's in the computer, the schedule is. It's actually a hard copy. And I had to have a refund for my ticket in the train because I missed it. So to do the procedure, he has to go pull a file, okay, and flip the pages, then look at his own notes, handwritten notes, and he pulled out, he looked at it, and he said, okay, we do this. Then the trainee also opened his own notebook and started writing down in a piece of paper what the procedure should be. And all this going back to the main file that they have in the cabinet. Another incident also, I had something, anyway, many incidents like this. And I noticed in Japan that this is how the system is. I didn't get a chance to ask them why, but I tell you one thing. If these guys, their computer shut down, they will not shut down their operation. If there is any problem in the computer, it doesn't matter, because everything is written in two formats, in file cabinet and in their own handwriting notes. And it looks like when you write your own notes, that make you also very aware of what you're doing. It's a level of very meticulous, very precise. It's very interesting how detailed they are, those people. It's an interesting nation, actually, but I'll have to give it to say also it's overrated, in my opinion, like the country a little bit. Very simple. Even their airport is very simple airport. Like the process of getting into the country and getting out is very old-fashioned. I thought it's going to be more complicated than that. I thought it's going to be, it is complicated a little bit, but I thought it's going to be more advanced and sophisticated, not complicated, sophisticated, but it's actually not. Anyway, I think it's not fair to judge him from just a couple of days, but it is a very interesting visit, actually. And one incident happened to me also I would like to share with you before I start my class. I was lost, as you can expect. And, I don't speak Japanese. I don't understand Japanese, nothing at all. I'm in the middle of the city, and now it's late, and I have to take like 3 different trains to go back to the area where the bus for the hotel comes. It's about 1.5 hours away, my hotel, from the city. So in one of the middle connections, so you're basically inner city, inside the city. You're not like in the tourist area. No, it's like one of these stations in the city to switch lane. And I see this Japanese guy, and I give him a piece of paper, tell him I want to go to the airport. And he's like, he doesn't speak English, but he understood because the paper written in Japanese as well. The first guy gave it to me. So when he looked at it, he was like, immediately said, narrator, the area where I want to go. I said, yes. So he's very interesting. He was going outside. He came back, and that means you have to use your ticket again. So he did a ticket, and he goes with me, and he walked with me until he got me to the platform. And he said, okay, you have 3 minutes where your train will come. So when he found that I got exactly, he said, there is one after 1 minute, that's not you, the one you get in. And in a sign language, few words here and there. So I understand there's not the one coming in 1 minute, it's the one after 3 minutes exactly, or 4 minutes. When I said, I got it, okay? When I said I got it, I saw this big smile in his face, like here. It's like wider than his eyes. Okay, so it's so wide, and he was so happy, like this, just like this, and I don't know what he's saying. He just says some words like, whatever he's saying. I was like, and he's so excited. Wallahi, he's more excited than me, okay, that I'm like, fine, I'm going to go home. And he was so happy, as if I did a favor to him. Then he left. He went back to his way out. And I thought this was very, very interesting, like experience and interacting with just an A person on the street. And I really appreciated, like I really, that culture, something I heard about it before from one of my friends who always goes there, and I experienced firsthand. So sometimes one person can give you an impression about a whole entire society and community. And that's a lesson for us. Somebody walk into this masjid and maybe he deal with you and you will give the impression of the whole entire community of Clear Lake Islamic Center. And maybe it is the right or wrong, it doesn't matter. But remember, you always can be the give impression of the whole entire Muslims community, Muslim world, the whole entire religion. And people naturally will be judging people or see people through that lens. Anyway, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I need to open the hearts of people around the world to see the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because there is a great need of that. The other country that I visited was like Singapore and Malaysia, inshallah. We talk about maybe in another time. But let's go back to the verses that we talk about. We talked about 2 weeks ago about al-jadal, arguing. And we said that human beings are known of creatures that they argue. And even some of the ulama said, وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ أَكْثَرَ شَيْءٍ جَدَلًا. It means it's the creation who argue the most. They argue more than any other creation that Allah have made. More than the jinn, more than the angel, more than the animals. There's no one argue like them. And not because أكثر شيء جدلا, it means a lot, and also more sophisticated. They are very intelligent creatures, and they know how to articulate their argument, and to think, and to analyze, and to question things. So that's the nature of human being. And we talked about al-jadal in general. You will find many verses talk about al-jadal in a negative way, and also other verses speaking about al-jadal in a positive manner. And we said that the solution for this, first of all, we know that the number of verses spoke in a negative way about al-jadal, arguing, is way more in numbers and quantity and repetition than the one speak about it in a positive manner. And we said the reason for that, because arguing, as Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah put it in a beautiful way, is it can be classified to different categories. That you argue with the haqq for the haqq, with the truth for the truth. And this is, you argue with something valid, with valid argumentation, and for a good reason. He said, this is, we have to look at, there is maslaha ghaliba or marjuha, that there is more benefit in this argument or not. So if there is more benefit, it's something praised. Like what? You argue to know, for knowledge, for developing, to educate. When you argue with someone because you're not giving them da'wah, you argue لإقامة الحجة, like the judge argue with the criminal, or they argue with the defense and the prosecutor argue with each other in the court, so the truth will be revealed. So these kind of argument, there is great benefit from it. That's why it is allowed in Sharia, and that's what the verses talk about. But sometimes the argument can be for the truth and with the truth, but there is no benefit from it. It's a waste of time. Like the hypothetical examples. Ulama thought, some of them talked about. Like, for example, if someone want to argue with me now about, hey, which direction should I pray to if I am above the Kaaba? I mean, you're not going to be above the Kaaba. So there's no point for me wasting my time with you and arguing this issue right now. Or they debated, do we pray to the Kaaba or to the foundation of the Kaaba? So if the Kaaba walk to visit someone, would you follow the Kaaba or you just go to the roots of the Kaaba? That's these real examples. They said, for example, if a person, if the Imam, this is examples exist in some of the books of Ahnaf. They said, if the Imam, half of the Imam, transferred to a piece of bread, while the other half of his body still kept human, and he's leading the prayer, would the salah of the ma'mumeen, of the people who pray behind, valid or not valid? Because you can't pray where food is in front of you, and he's the imam. It's a very ridiculous kind of example. Okay, I can go, I don't want to gross you out because some examples can be very graphic and not appropriate for such gathering here. But there is very, very strong, strange examples like this. And when Al-Imam, when Ibn Umar radiallahu anh, a man came to him and he said, أرأيت يا ابن عمر قال اجعل أرأيت في اليمن. He said, what if? He said, leave what if in Yemen. يعني far away. Don't think of hypothetical examples. And this type of argumentation, even for the truth, with Quran and Sunnah, with right argument, is not good. But sometimes we do it for fun, like what we did last year in Texas Dawah, I guess. They had some hypothetical debate, and they asked us to do it. But there is no really argument. It was just hypothetical questions. I forgot even all of them right now. I couldn't remember them. But they asked kind of impossible scenarios. What will be the ruling in this case? The second one is to argue for the truth, but with the falsehood. You argue for the right intention, but with the falsehood. And this became a major issue in our history. So many of the bid'ah innovations came in Islam because of this. There is a group like Al-Mu'tazila, or there is the Ad-Dahriyya, the atheist, who denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened? Someone debated them and start inventing rules from his own to defeat them. And these rules are falsehood. Like Al-Jahm ibn Safwan, when they told him, anything exists, must be recognized by one of our senses. In order for something to exist, it has to be recognized by one of the senses. Isn't you see it, you taste it, you feel it, okay? So, is your Lord like that? He said, no. So they told him, so your Lord does not exist. You should deny his existence. So he confused for 40 days, then he came up with the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists and not exist in the same time. قال هو موجود ولا موجود أو قال لا موجود ولا لا موجود نفي إثبات. So he came up with very weird idea. Also, they said that one of the proof that they believe that earth is God, is old, is infinite. It's forever been there. So they try, the Mu'tazila and the Asha'ira and others, they try to defeat them. So they came up with the concept that كل ما حلت به الحوادث فهو حادث. They made this rule, which is anything that can adopt a new thing or new thing happen to it, it means it's new. Anything that a new things can happen to it, it means this thing's not anymore old, it means new. Because you're capable of adapting to new things. So that means you're not complete, perfect. So human beings grow, you get older, so new things happen to you. You get sick, that's why you are creation. You're not old, you're not infinite. Okay? You're not forever. This is their logic. So earth, they said, same thing in earth. New things happen to it. So that means it wasn't forever like that. So it has a beginning. So when they came up with that law or that rule, they looked at Allah. They said, okay, Allah said in the Quran, فَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ. When Musa arrived to the appointed point, his Lord talked to him. So that means his Lord wasn't talked to him before he arrived to that point. So that means that talking is something new, having to Allah. So that means Allah is new. They said, oh, no. So what do? They deny that Allah talks. They said Allah's talk is not something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't talk whenever He wishes, whenever. They looked at another verse, type, Allah in the day of judgment will come. So that's something new. So He said, oh, He will not come. So they used their false ideas and false laws that they made to reject the Quran and Sunnah. But their intention was good. Their intention was to defend Islam. Their intention was to defend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their intention is to defeat the atheist and the Jahmiyyah and so others. And they came up with many ideas like this that led them to deny so many things in Islam and to corrupt actually the aqidah and the theology of the Muslim through the history. And this is one of the most common things happened to the ummah. هو رد البدعة بالبدعة, to refute bid'ah with another bid'ah, to refute what is wrong with another wrong. And we said also there is another third category, which is when people argue for the falsehood but with the right and the truth. And this is the scholars who are corrupt, fasiq, who will argue with evidence from Quran and Sunnah and perfect logic, but they do this not for the sake of Allah, for the sake of showing off their knowledge, for the sake of being known as a great debater, or because they want money from the governor. Okay? To the extent you will see, for example, in the history, a alim, and I don't want to give examples, but there is many you can think of. A scholar will write a whole entire book and a refutation for another book just because he wants the gift from the sultan. He wants a gift or a money to be rewarded from the sultan for his book. So he argued with the other person with the truth, but not for the truth. Is that clear? The fourth one, a'udhu billah, which is someone will argue for the falsehood with the falsehood. Yani somebody who is corrupt and his belief and his intention and the way he argued. And this is the example of the kuffar who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention them soon in the next verses. So 3 out of 4 are all bad. And the one which is acceptable, 50% of it good and 50% is bad. So that's why there is many narration criticizing the concept of arguing. And arguing in general cause a lot of problems. SubhanAllah, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh said, there is arguing will never come in between brothers unless it will destroy the brotherhood. Anyone who likes to argue a lot, he will lose his friends quickly. Cannot have friends around him. Anyone who likes to pick on people and to argue with them, not easygoing person, people don't like to hang out with them, people not like to have him as a member of their team or to come close to such person. Because he likes to argue all the time. Also, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إذا أراد الله أن يهلك قوم بعد أن آتاهم الهدى سلط عليهم الجدل أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. That any people Allah want to destroy them after they are guided, He will let them argue with each other. فأغرينا بينهم العداوة والبغضاء قال بالجدل فيما بينهم الخصومات. So this is what will destroy the nation, that they start arguing. And نسأل الله العافية, when people start to argue, become like the hypocrites, no actions. We just debate over this. Sometimes I go to meetings. The whole entire meeting is arguing. There is no action items. You spend an hour just picking people back and forth, argue with each other, and nothing. There is no action. And that's one of the worst things about arguing. It kills the actions, the spirit of action, of taking actions. It became just all about talking. And the Muslim Ummah, for so many years, caught into this dilemma. As there is a very famous Egyptian writer, his name is Ahmad Rajab. He said something very interesting. He said once, he said, الأمة العربية والأمة الإسلامية اليوم هي ظاهرة صوتية. He said the Ummah today, it's just a phenomena, like a voice phenomena, or like a sound. It's just empty, just what word, just talk. Huh? You love talk. Lab talk, very good. Lab talk. There is no really substance. There is no actions. There is no real change happen in the ummah. It's just talking and argue with each other. طيب. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا مَنَعَ النَّاسَ أَن يُؤْمِنُوا إِذْ جَاءَهُمُ الْهُدَى وَيَسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَّا أَن تَأْتِيَهُمْ سُنَّةُ الْأَوَّلِينَ أَوْ يَأْتِيَهُمُ الْعَذَابُ قُبُلًا. What prevented people from believing, even the huda, the guidance came to them. هنا الهدى معناها البيان. بعد إذ جاءهم الهدى يعني البيان. لأن الله إذا هدى إنسان هداية القلب ما أحد يضله. Means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them. He explained to them the truth from the falsehood. They know what is right and they know what is wrong. وَيَسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّهُم. They believe and they will make istighfar. They repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala join in between the two? They believe and they make istighfar. Can anyone think why would He put these two together? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said here, وَمَا مَنَعَ النَّاسِ did not prevent people from being believer and to make istighfar, except why believe and make istighfar? لأن الإيمان لا يقوم إلا على ركنين. You cannot be believer until you fulfill two pillars. نفي وإثبات, which is لا إله إلا الله. You have to free yourself from the shirk and to affirm the tawheed. So you believe in Allah and you make istighfar from the shirk and the kufr. Al-Iman, just to believe in Allah by Himself, doesn't make you a mu'min until you free yourself from the shirk. You free yourself from any form of association with Allah subhanahu, having anyone to be associated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you believe in Allah and you make istighfar from any form of shirk that you did before. إِلَّا أَن تَأْتِيَهُمْ سُنَّةُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Except that the ways of the nations be repeated with them. And that, basically, and after that, أَوْ يَأْتِيَهُمُ الْعَذَابُ قُبُلًا. Or the torment be brought to them face to face. Some of the ulama said it's not or. أو ليست على بابها. قالوا تأتيهم سنة الأولين أو يأتيهم العذاب قبلا. هذه جملتان مترادفتان. They said these two statements are the same. So what is the way of the nations before us? That Allah destroyed them. So what have basically did not let them to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them when they rejected the truth. Allah didn't give them another chance. He just destroyed them. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling the people of Mecca, do you want Allah to deal with you this way? You rejected Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you want us to treat you like we treated the nation before? It's a threat. And we destroy you like we destroyed the nation before you. Is that what do you want? So this became like a threat to them. Some said no. What is the way of the previous nation? That they reject the truth because they want to follow their forefathers. They said, this is not how our forefathers were, and we will. So they want to imitate their grandfathers. They want to imitate the nation before them. And that's why they did not follow the messengers and they did not follow the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or that the nation before them, they refused to look at the truth and they turned their back away. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them later on. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after that, وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. He mentioned in this verse the wisdom behind sending the messengers to humanity. And we send not the messenger except as a giver of glad tidings and warners. So this is وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرِينَ. هذا سميناه we talked about this a lot in our tafsir. هو الاستثناء الذي يدل على الحصر والقصر. This negation and affirmation, means that this is the true purpose of sending the messenger. So when he said, we send not, that's a negation, except that affirmation. So we send not the messenger except as giver of glad tidings and warner. So this is basically the ultimate goal of sending the messenger, is to save people. To save people in this dunya and in the hereafter. Is to return people to their fitrah, the way Allah created them. Because as came in Hadith Iyad ibn Himar في صحيح Muslim, خلقت عبادي حنفاء فاجتالتهم الشياطين. I created my creation, I created you human being, حنفاء. حنفاء, it means far away from shirk. الحنيف يعني مائل, هو الذي يميل عن الشيء. So they are far away from الشرك. They are not being created in a way that they originally want to worship other than Allah, or they associate other with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they fear other than Allah, or they love other than Allah. As a matter of fact, He created us, naturally we feel inclining towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He said He wants to bring us back to that state of fitrah. And also, so that good life happened to us in the dunya and in the akhirah. They give the glad tidings for the believers and they warn the disbeliever. They give the glad tidings to the disbeliever, telling them, if you believe, that's what you have. That's a good news for you if you believe. And they warn the believer, if you disbelieve and you leave the religion, that's what will happen to you. فالبشارة والنذارة تحصل للجميع. يعني الأنبياء, they give a good tiding, a glad tiding to us and warn us as a believer. And also told the disbeliever, warn them, and in the same times give them hope, and they give them the good news if they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what will happen to them. And that's basically manifested by all these ahadith and all these verses that the prophets mention in regard to paradise, hellfire, the day of judgment, what will happen to people on the day of judgment. And this is basically a big portion of every message of every prophet and every messenger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have sent. Also, one of the purpose of the purpose of sending the messengers and the prophets to humanity is to, as I said, to guide them, to protect them. And wallahi, nothing harm human beings like human beings. There is no one harming human beings like human beings. Protect us from ourselves. يحمي الإنسان من الإنسان. If you look at how many injustice, how many people die, how many people harmed by other human beings, way than any other thing, way than any natural disaster, way than any other animals attack human beings. There's no comparison. We are very harmful creatures to each other and to ourselves. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to protect us from ourselves through that guidance, through these books that He sent. But what happened? They came to warn, they came to give the glad tidings. In return, what people did? They started arguing. وَيُجَادِلُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, but those who disbelieve dispute with false argument in order to refute the truth. So look, so they argue with falsehood in order to refute the truth. So the intention is bad and the method is also bad. And that's by many ways. For example, when they came to the Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, tell us about the story of the young men who went to the cave. What was this about? And they have no knowledge of the story. If you argue with something you have no knowledge of, that's mujadala bil batil. That means you argue with falsehood because they don't know the story. That's why the Quran mentioned many times, ما لكم به من علم. You have no knowledge of those young men. So why you argue with something you have no knowledge of? And guess what? So what if the Prophet tell you the story about the young men? How this will change the fact that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling the people of Mecca, be a believer and don't worship the idols? What this has to do with that? As the people of Mecca were ready to become a believer if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell them the story, yani if he tell them the story of this young man who went to the cave, do you think the people of Mecca will say, خلاص نشهد أن محمد رسول الله, we believe that you're Rasulullah? Is that the case? No. So why are you asking? Why are you arguing? Why you want to ask about the story? يجادل بالباطل للباطل ليدحضوا به الحق. And the word ليدحضوا به الحق, the word يضحض, he said here, where is it? A dispute with false argument in order to refute the truth. Refute the truth. Ad-dahl in Arabic language means two things. تعني الإزالة وتعني الضعف. أصلها من الضحك وهو الانزلاق. The original roots of this word يدحض به الحق. So it became, the haqq will be a slippery slope, like things which is not clear, something which is not exist anymore. Because when it's slippery, you slip and you go away. So the point is, so they will refute the truth, so the truth will not remain anymore, will be completely covered by their argument. Or the arguing will make the truth weak. Will make the truth weak. Make your point weak. Isn't when you argue with someone, it makes the point weak. That's right. When somebody starts arguing with you, let's say for example, inshallah, we will have Salat al-Taraweeh this year, start at 11. Then someone start telling me, 11:10 is much better, or 10:45. And you start arguing back and forth. My point that I'm trying to make became what? Back and forth, make it not strong point anymore. The community don't know where to go. There is no direction. It make basically people don't forget what I said. People now start focusing on the whole argument back and forth. So that's the purpose. The purpose of asking these questions, raising these concerns about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying he's a magician, he's kahin, he is sahir, he's insane, he has been taught by jinn, taught by someone from the previous nation. All these falsehood that they brought against Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, thinking that this is weakening the position of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or making that make his message disappear and nobody cared for it. لِيُدْحِضُوا بِهِ الْحَقِّ. It's interesting to know the intention of Allah and the intention of the kuffar and the shaitan. The intention of the messengers and the intention of the disbelievers. The intention of the messengers and before them Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring his sign, send the verses to guide us. While the intention of the disbeliever and the shaitan is to remove the truth, is to hide the truth, is to mislead you as a human being. Question: can ever the disbeliever refute the truth? Can ever the disbeliever cover the truth? Can ever the disbeliever win the argument, win the battle? The absolute win, impossible. In the end of the day, the falsehood will be exposed and the truth will win. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, بل نقذف بالحق على الباطل فيدمغه فإذا هو زاهق ولكم الويل مما تصفون. In Surah Al-Anbiya verse 18, we threw the truth, we threw the falsehood with the truth, and the falsehood will be gone, will destroy it. The truth will destroy the falsehood. وقال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون. The disbeliever said, don't listen to the Quran. والغوا, إيش معنى الغو? Make noise. So the best that this believer can do is to make noise, distract people from the truth. But they cannot ever refute the truth. They cannot ever take the truth away or end the truth. اللغو الكلام الفارغ الذي لا معنى له. Empty words, lip talk. They just make a noise, but they cannot really change the reality. Like people can talk about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bring all this nonsense. Oh, he married Aisha when she's young, he married all the talk. But in reality, they cannot ever deny the reality that he was a messenger and cannot be anything else other than a true prophet from his Lord. They can pick one page here, one verse here, talk there. You know what? In the end of the day, they know that this book, it cannot be made by human being. Islam this, but in the end of the day, you know and they know that Islam will remain and they will die and they will vanish and Islam will remain. And their civilization will come to an end, but the Quran and the Sunnah and the Deen of Muhammad ﷺ will continue. That's why I'm not ever worried about the Deen to be vanished. I'm not worried about Islam that it will be defeated. What I'm always worried about is, would I be part of those who give victory to Islam or not? Would I be among those who Allah will use to defend Islam or not? I know it will be defended, it won't be with me or without me. But the honor is I will have a part and role to play in this or not. Today, my brothers and sisters, we see the same old trick that they used to do. كما أنزلنا على المقتسمين الذين جعلوا القرآن عضين. In Surah Al-Hijr verse 91, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, like the way al-muqtasimin, those who made qasam. They said, we swear by Allah that Muhammad is a kahin, or Muhammad is a sahir, a magician, or a person insane. Those who believed in some and reject some. Those who believe in some of the truth and reject part of the, and basically reject the rest. And this battle continued. Never stopped. Since Muhammad ﷺ, since the prophets and messengers, until today, it's continued. There is always a battle and a struggle between the falsehood and the truth. If you ever think that there is a time will never be a struggle between the haqq, the truth, and the falsehood, you're wrong. No matter how polite you are, no matter how politically correct you are, no matter how legal you are, no matter how nice you are. وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا شياطين الجن والإنس. For each and every prophet, there has enemy, and no more wise than the prophet, no more knowledgeable than the prophet, more nicer than the prophet, no one ever has clear evidence like the prophet. But still, they have enemies from the human beings and from the jinn. Today, you see the challenge exists inside the society. You see the extreme liberal today, how they attack Islam in a daily basis and raising doubts about Islam in every aspect. How we see that's the extreme anti-religion secularism. Because secular ideologies, some of them are secular and at the same time anti-religion. They hate religion. It's not just being secular, no. Their secularism is a form of secularism that based on being anti-religion and hate religion and have no place for God and hate that the concept of just religion and being a society that it's a religious society, like what you see in some of these extreme places in Europe today, for instance. So this is another struggle. And even in Muslim countries, you'll see some of these secular societies are like that. They're not like you say, we're in the Western society, they're not as anti-religion like you see some governments in Muslim world. And the reason, because the type of secularism they adopt, It's a secularism that hates religion, and it's an anti-religion. You'll see also how so many people have declared enmity to the religion of Islam. Politicians, openly, they just hate Islam and hate Muslims, openly saying that. And you see corrupt people, that they don't want to have a purity of the religion. I remember I was listening to a speaker in Los Angeles a long time ago. He's not a Muslim. And he was talking about how he studied the Sharia, the Sharia of Muhammad, the Sharia of Islam. And he said, I was very fascinated by it and how beautiful it is. And he talked about the principle of it. And I know that there is a lot of Sharia creeps. A lot of people are so scared of it. But you should be scared of Sharia only if you're a murderer, if you're a thief, if you're a fornicator, if you're a bad guy. That's a person who will be scared of Sharia. A person who steals people's money and takes people's wealth. Not a person who's not correct. The other person should be so scared from Sharia, because Sharia is very strong against such people. But if you're an honest, decent person, you should not be scared at all. Sharia doesn't scare you any. And that's a testimonial from someone who is not a Muslim after he's made his own research. Anyway, today you see that even unfortunately in the Muslim world today, there is people hate the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they willing to fight against this deen to the last breath of their life, like Abu Jahl did. Today, you see that a lot of people that they have so much fasad, corruption on earth. Their business is based on selling or trading in haram stuff. That's why they hate the religion, and they try to weakening the deen in people's life as much as they can. Hypocrites and their voices in the media, their voices in the different type of medias today is another war against the haqq and against the deen and the truth that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will save the deen? What will save the ummah? The sincere du'at, the sincere ulama, the sincere ummah. And this is not the role of individuals, it's a role for all of us as a community to make sure that we keep the religion pure from such change. You see today, one of the common methods is names, calling names. Terrorist, extremist, those people are kasab, those people sell out. Many names have been given to the ulama, many names given to the du'at, to the leader of the Muslims today. And I mean the Muslim communities and the du'at in the Muslim world today. They are not loyal, they are not educated, they betrayed their countries, whatever. This religion is just being religious is the result of sexual frustration. Being religious is a result of economic frustration, or poverty. That's why people are religious. And all this kind of just war and reasons that is not true. That's what I call arguing with the falsehood for the falsehood. Today, the attack on Islam is not attack on a beard. It's not attack on a niqab. It's not attack on a branches. Today, the attack on the principle of Islam. Today, the battle not over small branches in Islam, over the main thing. And if we understand that, we should not fight with each other over these small branches. We should look at the big picture, the foundation, the principles, because that's where they shaking today. Today, the attack on Islam is by giving the Muslims bad examples, by putting in the front bad examples, either groups or individuals or ideologies that does not truly represent what is the message of Muhammad is, and making those people look like the true representative of Islam. This is the true message of Islam, either by bringing some extreme Sufis groups and representing them as example of Islam, or putting the light on the spot on extreme Salafis, jihadis, extremist group, and bring them as the representative of the truth, or people who are uneducated and religious at the same time. They don't give the fair representation of the religion and the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I can give you, and I can go on, and how they pick very wisely those who they want to bring on the TV or in the, put them on the spotlight as a representative of Islam. And just one second. Today, also, the attack on Islam, in another one of the ways that is common today, it is by distracting Muslim with things that are less important than the religion, making them so distracted with worldly things, making people think of the dunya. My father said to me once something I will never forget. He said, and that's his opinion, rahimahullah. He said when Abdel Nasser, the president of Egypt, came, and he's known of his struggle against a lot of Islamist group at that time. When Abdel Nasser came in power, he said something. He said, in Egypt, I want the Egyptian person, when he walks up in the morning, he thinks about where I'm going to get oil and sugar and chicken and bread for my family. I want this to be a daily struggle. He said before he came in power in the king's time, it was everybody walking can find easily the food. But when he came, he did this, jam'iyat, and people, it's like a social structure. And people really became a concern, where are I going to find the bread? Is there a bread today? Is there meat or not? And people start thinking about that. When you start thinking this way, you have no other time to think about other things than dunya. You don't have time to think about, religion and amr ma'roof and nasiha and da'wah and educate and politics or anything like that. You just, every day you run away just to catch up, just to bring food to the table. That's one of the ways they kept people so busy with the dunya, so they can't think of anything else. Today, the attack against Islam and Muslims and the Muslim groups today, it is by dividing the Muslim ummah, feeding that sectarian war that we see every corner in our Muslim world today. That's one of the ways to attack Muslim and Islam today. It's we became so divided that we only care about fighting one another, proving each group as the wrong one. And unfortunately, we fall in that trap. All what we focus on, putting label on every group and judging every group, and we're not willing to know how to come together and to line up and to see who really that we can, what the foundation that we can meet on as a ummah today. So my point is the ways that the kuffar and the way the shaitan and the way the falsehood attack the truth and the people of truth is so many. These just examples. And let Azad call the adhan. Go ahead.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat, hayya ala al-falah. الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الأمر كما قال الله تعالى بل مكر الليل والنهار. It's like what Allah subhanahu describing them. They plot day and night. They don't give up. 24/7. And the shaitan and his followers, they are so committed to removing the truth and fighting the truth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Allah will make His light take over, even if the mushrikeen hate that so much. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, the disbeliever, يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ لِيَصُدُّوا عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَسَيُنْفِقُونَهَا ثُمَّ تَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ حَسْرَةٌ ثُمَّ يُغْلَبُونَ وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ يُحْشَرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed, those who disbelieve spend their wealth to avert people from the way of Allah. So they will spend it, they will spend it, then it will be for them a source of regret. Then they will be overcome, they will be defeated, and those who have disbelieved into hell, they will be gathered. What a beautiful promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you hear that they spend millions and billions of dollars and euros and whatever currency just for the sake of giving a bad publicity or propaganda against Islam, that they will spend it and will not benefit them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الله أنزل من السماء ماء فسالت أودية بقدرها فاحتمل السيل زبدا رابيا ومما يوقدون عليه في النار ابتغاء حلية أو متاع زبد مثله كذلك يضرب الله الحق والباطل. إيش المثل؟ فأما الزبد فيذهب جفاء وأما ما ينفع الناس فيمكث في الأرض. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us the example of the falsehood and the truth. As for the foam, it vanishes. It's like the foam of the sea. It's vanished, or the foam after the rain. This foam soon will vanish, but the water will be observed by the earth. The haqq will always remain, have roots, but the falsehood has no roots. Don't go to the heart. What required from us, what Allah said, وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا. If you have sabr and taqwa, they will not able to harm you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاتَّخَذُوا آيَاتِي وَمَا أُنذِرُوا هُزُوًا. And they treat my ayat, proofs, evidence, verses, signs, prophets, the prophets that Allah have sent, the messages that Allah have sent, and that with which they are warned, as just a mockery. So they start mocking what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent. They didn't take it seriously. That's why they said, when, for example, when Abu Jahl, he was told about Az-Zaqum, the tree in Jahannam. He said, what is Zaqum? هذا زبد في تمر. It's like eating dates with butter. What a nice combination. And when they hear about the Quran, they said, this is dreams. This is his dreams. It come in his dreams. Adghathu ahlam. They said, this is sihr, magic. He says, spell on people. That's why they follow him. So that's how they mock the Prophet ﷺ, and they mock the thing that came as a warner to them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ ذُكِّرَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ. And who does more dhulm, injustice, than he who is reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's proof and evidence of his Lord, but turns away from them. مَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ ذُكِّرَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه. This question, who does more wrong? This is a mocking question. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mocking them, and or istinkari, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, who can be worse than that? And here the word ذكر بآيات ربي, reminded of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sign, فأعرض عنها ونسي ما قدمت يداه, turn away and forgot what he have done. It means they ignore. It's not he forgot about it because he didn't care for it. He didn't care for it. Even when they forgot about it, Allah didn't forget about it. نسوها وما نسيها الله. And they hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ذكر. He was reminded, but he insists to forget about it. ذكر ومع ذلك نسي. It means he didn't forget about it because his memory is weak. No, he didn't care for it. دل على أن النسيان بمعنى الإعراض, because the word نسيا, forgot, comes in two meanings. That you forget something because you truly don't remember it, because you're a lack of good memory, or you forget it because you don't care for it. It's like when I tell you, you want this, forget it. Forget it, and I don't care for it. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna nasinakum. We forgot about you today. Not because Allah doesn't remember you. No, because He doesn't care about you in Jahannam. He left you in Jahannam. So that's why we say that this verse here, وَنَسِيَ مَا قَدَّمَتْ يَدَاهِ يعني أعرض. He just forgot about it. He didn't care of the old thing that he have done in this dunya. And this is very scary, my brothers and sisters. Sometimes we forget about our sins. We don't care about them. That's a warning. No matter how old your sins are, no matter how long time ago, no matter how much tawbah you made, you don't ever have the attitude of the kuffar that you forgot about them. You always remember them and you always worry about them. Aisha radiallahu anha, for years, كانت تبكي. Why? Because she made a promise and she broke the promise. عهدت عهد وما أتت به. وكانت تبكي حتى وهي تموت. When she was crying, when she was dying, she was crying. And they said, why are you crying? She remembered the promise that she made. إن العهد كان مسؤولا. She said that Allah said that any promise you made, Allah will ask you about it. So not a good attitude. The good is not a mu'min attitude that he or she forgets about their sin. That's why see the prophets in the day of judgment, they still think about the sin that they commit. So no matter how old, how much repentance you made, how much change you have made, you still always remember your sins and you always cry them. You always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them, and you just treat them as if they never happened. No. Also, don't go to the other extreme that make your sin the only thing you see in front of you. But you don't ignore it, you don't delete it, but it doesn't necessarily that you always look at them in front of you, because this can have a negative impact on you as well. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ أَكِنَّةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that here we have set veils over their hearts. Akinna, veils, layers above their hearts. أَيَّفْقَهُوهُ. So they cannot understand the Quran. They cannot understand the verses. They cannot understand the reminder anymore. And in their ears, the waqra, يعني sounds. So when they hear the verses, it becomes like a noise. They don't listen. It's like a noise for them. Something they cannot understand anymore. What that means, the point is, they cannot understand what they hear. They cannot comprehend what they hear anymore. Why? As a result of them turning away of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. here, هذا الجعل من الله, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made their hearts solid, blocked their ear, blocked from hearing the truth, and they cannot hear it anymore. Like sometimes I give a talk, and a lot of people moved by the talk, and other people said, I don't know what you guys talk about. Completely irrelevant to the person. Why? Because he's in another world. He's in so much sin, so far away from the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he cannot even understand what you're talking about. It is so alien to him to understand what you talk about, because very far away from the truth. This is so dangerous also. This is another warning for us, that the result of turning away from Allah, you remember, because the verse said, why Allah made their heart this way, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made their ear like this way. It came after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ ذُكِّرَ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِ فَأَعْرَضَ عَنْهَا. The one who reminder came to him, he turned away from him, turned from the reminder, didn't listen to the reminder, was not willing to accept the reminder. So if he doesn't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make his heart sealed. And that's a big difference between our understanding as Ahlul Sunnah and a lot of other deviant sects who made a big question mark. He said, if Allah sealed their hearts and their ear, how He punished them? Allah did not seal their hearts from the beginning. Allah said, dhukkir. Many times He was reminded. Then He insists, and He basically turned away. And because of so much indulging in the kufr, the result was that his heart is sealed. And his ear is sealed. And he cannot see the truth anymore. So there is no injustice here. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished him, because of his attitude, because of his actions. So here I want to say to each and every one of us, if we involve in a sin, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep reminding you about it, keep sending you messages and reminders about that sin, and you continue to ignore it, I'm afraid that in this area Allah might seal your heart, so you will not see this reminder anymore. And you know what that means? It means you continue to do this until you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that sin. And that's very scary. It's a ni'mah that Allah send you a reminder. It's a ni'mah that Allah wake you up. It's a ni'mah that Allah pinch you a little bit so you can feel the pain. But if you reach to a level that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala see you don't care, He leave you for yourself. And the moment you leave yourself, you continue doing this batil, and you continue going the wrong way until a'udhu billah, you end up meeting Him with it, with that sin. So that's something very scary. وَإِن تَدْعُهُمْ إِلَى الْهُدَى فَلَن يَهْتَدُوا إِذًا أَبَدًا. They will never accept the huda. خلاص. وَرَبُّكَ الْغَفُورُ ذُو الرَّحْمَةِ. And your Lord most forgiving. لا إله إلا الله. Al-Quran دائما, after the warning, He gives you the hope. The first one is really scary verse. Terrify the believer. Then here He's telling you that He is the most forgiving, the most merciful, your Lord. And it's so beautiful that He said, وَرَبُّكَ. Your Lord is not the Lord of anyone else. Make it personal, so you feel that you're still connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is also, this addressed Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as an honor for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Al-Ghafur dhu ar-Rahmah. Al-Ghafur, the one who forgives the sins of the believers. So Al-Ghafur apply to the believers mainly, if they repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ar-Rahmah, wider than Al-Maghfirah, because Allah's mercy reach those who repent and those who didn't repent, those who came back to Allah and those who didn't. But Al-Maghfirah is for those who repent, who said Astaghfirullah. He seeked the maghfirah and he was granted it. Ar-Rahmah, even if you don't ask for the maghfirah, Ar-Rahmah reach you. That's why it's the biggest circle. If Allah's mercy, you cannot be accommodated in Allah's mercy, it means you're in hellfire. And if you're not in the circle of al-maghfirah, you still have a chance to survive. Because you'll be the bigger circle, which is al-rahmah. But if you're not in that bigger circle, there's nothing left for you. اعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. Al-afu, it means al-izala, يعني the sin will not be written. It will be immediately taken from your record. You will come in the day of judgment, it's not even in your record. Al-maghfirah, as-sitr, the sin there, but there is other thing to cover it. Your repentance, another good deeds, covered. It's there, but it's covered. If the sin is so big that nothing covered it, you did not do anything to cover it, so it is still there and it's not covered, the only left for you is ar-rahmah. That's why it came the third one. And that's the biggest hope that we have in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَرَبُّكَ الْغَفُورُ ذُو الرَّحْمَةِ لَوْ يُؤَاخِذُهُمْ بِمَا كَسَبُوا لَعَجَّلَ لَهُمُ الْعَذَابِ بَلْ لَهُمْ مَوْعِدٌ لَن يَجِدُوا مِن دُونِهِ مَوْئِلًا. And he delayed their time, not only to the day of judgment. In this ayah, ulama said it was the day of Uhud. Some said it was the day of Fath Mecca, the conquer of Mecca. 45, we pray? Okay. And when your day comes, there is no place to hide. There is no place to hide from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded them of the nations before them, how these nations, because of their injustice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا, an appointed time for their destruction. I want to end with this by saying that, my brothers and sisters, the destructions of the nation is not something old and it's not going to happen again. The destruction of the nation is not something happened in the past and will not happen again. It can happen again. And we have destroyed each other's because of injustice. You know, in World War I, 9 million people were killed. That's a destruction of nations. World War II, how many people died? Anybody know? 60 million people. 60 million people were killed in World War II. And you don't think that wasn't a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to humanity because of the injustice that it practiced? You know, 2.5% of the population of the people of the earth wiped out in World War II. And Allah knows if what's next in World War III or something in that level and magnitude with all these new weapons, what can happen. We be very careful from any form of injustice. And inshallah ta'ala, next week we'll start talking about the story of Musa alayhi salam. Sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina